mind, if I can be perfectly honest with you, because I don't know if you want to hear that, but I mean, I'm probably, if I can just be honest with you guys, I'm probably full blown in the middle of a midlife crisis. I don't know if my midlife crisis is as bad as anybody else's. I'm not going to go out and buy a convertible. I don't. That's not really in my thing. But irrespective of MMA, media is changing rapidly. And I had someone come up to me yesterday who was an MMA fan and like had advice for like the next 3 to 5 years, and I was like, dude, I have no fucking idea what to tell you, and I really don't. I don't know what to tell you. I've said to you guys this before. I think journalism as a business angle, I don't know if it's going to go away completely, but it's going to go away big time. It's going to be dramatically scaled back. It already has. I mean, I don't need to tell you that, but it's going to be even worse. The rise of influencer media is going to take over every sport, not just MMA, every sport. Athletes taking the jobs, and it's their right. Like, we don't own the jobs, but athletes having their own podcasts rather than going through people like me like they used to. That's taking away a ton of jobs as well. It's an extremely uncertain time in the business. There's simply no guarantees for anything. I really don't have a fucking idea what the future of media is going to look like. And of course, that has caused, I think, some level of anxiety or bare minimum, some reflection. If you're asking about like personal pathologies, I'm like very aware of some of the things that I'm trying not to hand down to my daughter and reflecting on my behavior. The biggest one would be anxiety. I grew up moving all the time. I grew up in a very chaotic household, divorced, court appearances, changing schools all the time, not having many friends in a lot of situations. That got better as time went on, but, and what my shrink has told me is that because my early life was so uncertain, that I'm constantly on top of things, trying to micromanage everything so that I don't feel that same level of anxiety. I never had control as a kid, so now I'm trying to exert too much control as an adult. I do not want to hand that down, that level of paranoia and neuroses, to my daughter. So I'm actively trying to work on something like that. But, your question is broadly about, let me see one more time. Let me revisit it here, if I may. Since becoming a father and getting older, have you also felt a similar need for self-reflection and improvement? And if so, your strongest gut feeling that you need to focus on right now? Yeah. So the first one is, like, I got to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I don't know if I can do that right this moment, but it's certainly on my mind. And the other component would be, I've got to get my anxiety under control. When I was single, even just married, my wife just kind of dealt with it. I just kind of dealt with it. I had a way to make it work. But the worst thing that could happen is for Violetta to inherit the bad things that happened to me, and then the stupid coping mechanisms I've come up with. Giving those to her would be, I would consider that a failure as a father. I would consider that a dramatic failure as a father, as a matter of fact. So I'm really, 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 really trying to work on that. She's a very happy, great kid. She's doing great. She's the apple of my eye. She's, obviously my kid, but in, not in a romantic sense, but in the familial sense. She's, the great love of my life in that way. It would be irresponsible of me to hand her my neuroses, to hand her the things that fucked me up. And you might have things in your life that fucked you up. You might have people in your life that did you wrong. You might have had much worse circumstances than I did, and it really messed you up as you tried to cope and navigate through it. And I'm sorry if that happened to any of you. I really am. I'm sorry about it. You didn't deserve it. It wasn't fair. You didn't ask for it. It may have just happened to you. But what you also have to realize is, as unfair as that was, it'd be unfair on top of that to then take everything you've inherited and just give it to the people around you, and especially your children. It is you didn't ask for it. You didn't want it. You didn't deserve it, but now it's yours. And it's only your responsibility to deal with it, both for your own personal health and everyone else's health around you, but so that you don't give it to your fucking kids. Because I saw what happens when you give it to your kids. My mom gave it to me, and my dad too. And it's a fucking mess. It's a fucking mess. So really, that's what I'm reflecting on, is fixing myself so that by osmosis, Violetta doesn't pick up on all the dumb shit I've had to deal with. It's not her job to deal with it. It's my job to deal with it. What you got? So I can't really get into this. I'm not going to put the question on the screen, but people are asking about the future of Showtime boxing. I understand the questions. I'm really not at liberty to talk about it. I can say that.